welcome back to Billy Ho Sports. We are heading over to Parx Racing, Pennsylvania Derby time. It is literally the biggest card of the fall season or late summer, whatever you want to call it. 15 races, so buckle up. Obviously, I'm not covering all of them, but the major stakes races will all be handled quite nicely. So we're going to do obviously the $1 million Grade One Pennsylvania Derby. Drawing a few of these top 3-year-olds. We got a lot of horses to talk about. Weekly split the pot draw, where the winner gets a free $20 bet. If we hit, we split. You have to be a subscriber. You have to be smashing that like button, helping support the channel. Leaving a comment gets your name in the draw. Thursday, we'll spin the wheel and award a viewer $20 free bet that we split if we win. Check the description for details. Let's jump right into things. 9 furlongs on the dirt. I'm sorry. The Penn Derby is 9 furlongs, mile and an eighth for 3-year-olds. Let's get started. Look at the contenders. Okay, we begin with number 1. So Sandy is from the barn of Sherry DeVoe. Kendrick Carmouche picks up the mount. Excellent effort in the Curlin, 13-1 odds. Big breakthrough at Horseshoe Indy. So didn't win anything at 2, but the front-running 5-length victory seemed to wake him up. A significant jump to that 125K OC before right after the maiden win at Indy. And then you can see the Curlin, the restricted stakes, but Chancer McPatrick won that race. Strategic Focus was another really tough horse in that one. This one had a little bit of bumping late, but it was just really them two down the stretch, and Chancer McPatrick just got the head bob, just barely. And I'm a little suspect of Chancer, but as far as compared to this field or others, I mean, he's still a decent competitor. So it was a quality race and a horse that we might be able to get some value on for an underneath exotics play. So keep an eye on that one. And we won't spend a lot of time on Altobelli. This one's just really a race filler. I mean, you can see the piss poor speed figures in the 17, 10, 8, 3, 7. None of those races he's even sniffing. So we'll pass on Altobelli. Now we go Magnitude Pop. Looking like a new threat on the road to Kentucky Derby back. I remember watching this race, Risen Star, and I said, man, I liked this guy in the LeCompte before, and he just didn't look good at all in the slop. So I didn't back him in the Risen Star. And of course, he just shits on everybody and goes down the lane, wins going away by 9, running, and that kind of speed figures was just insane. And then all of a sudden it was Magnitude on everybody's radar. But then he came out of the race with an unfortunate injury that sidelined him through the Triple Crown. He returned in July and really just kind of a repeat performance of the Risen Star in the Iowa Derby, which was against a significantly lesser field. There was a few of them in there, but he was willing. He drew off handily, very easily very easy win to come back off the break and look good doing it. Then goes to the Travers and was maybe just a little bit too much for him, going 1.25 miles. He ran really tough through the first few stanzas there, and just couldn't handle that Travers pressure of Sovereignty, and Bracket Buster ended up running second. Magnitude finished third. So it was just too much pressure for him to get there, coming home late, second off the layoff in a different track, going a longer distance. I think the 9 furlongs is much more to his suiting. I think he'll like that distance much better. Obviously, that was the race in the Risen Star at 9 furlongs, but he just looks like he could really excel here at Parx. So we'll keep a close eye on Magnitude on the tote board. Second in Prime Power, obviously. Now we have David of Athens. This one, Brendan Walsh and Tyler Gaffleone picks up the mount. Big 102 speed figure in the 7-length win going 1 mile in the versus Allowance Company at Ellis Park, coming off a really kind of a poor lackluster effort in the debut. One first out, and just FYI, 22-1 long shot down here, but beat Patch Adams. Pretty good for your resume there. And then took the winter and spring off, came in June 21st, ran only missed by 2 1/4 though, so finished 6th. Probably a little disappointing, but it was 6-1 in that race, so placed 5th through disqualification. Broke slowly in that race, just didn't get it going. Much better, clear, ridden out, going 1 mile on the good Ellis track. The 102 speed figure is competitive out of Nyquist, or by Nyquist, I should say. So we'll see what happens with this one. One I'll probably watch and maybe look for in a later event, lesser stakes company or something. I don't think that the Pennsylvania Derby is the fit here. So this one I had a joke all queued up for. Happy Delusional, Happily Delusional seems a pretty fitting name. I think that's what the connections were. Happily Delusional if they think they have a chance in this race. Beaten 10 in the Smarty, beaten 9 for 16K, beating 10 in the Peter Pan. It doesn't really matter. It's like the class doesn't matter to him. He just gets beat anyway. Took 4 trips to get the maiden win at 50 at Parx. Local horse, Paco Lopez is a plus, but I give that horse no chance. Goal oriented. Very interesting one coming in here. Of course, he did burst on the scene impressively on Derby Day in the slop where he went wire to wire here, but then really a big ask for the Preakness and obviously was involved in that scrum with journalism, Flavian Pratt, get a little too cute with the bumping and grinding. Obviously, journalism with Rispoli making that inside move, getting too cute as well. So lots of cuteness paid the price there. He paid the price most of all because he finished fourth by 6 3/4, but then came back and ran a really solid outing in the Haskell at almost 3.5, 7-2. But just couldn't handle once again, beaten by Gosker in the stretch, and then journalism beats them both. So just kind of but a definite marked improvement. 105 speed figure coming in off the layoff. So the next one, second off the layoff. Bob Baffert, that's an angle people play. Shipper and graded stakes races is an angle. Then you get Irad aboard, so he's fired Pratt off the mount. I think Pratt, he probably didn't fire him because I think Pratt is going to race at Aqueduct, so he's not even going to be here. So Haskell, good finish, definite contender, probably going to take a lot of money. We'll see. Now, Big Truzz garners a lot of interest. Probably had a little bit of a wise guy thing going on there for a while, going into the Woody Stevens off the second to Patch Adams in the optional claimer on Derby Day. That was a pretty good effort in the slop. Then went to the muddy track, got beaten by 5.5 to Patch in the Woody Stevens, but that was a really tough field, Matticat Road. So Big Truzz ran well in that one. I would almost think he probably would appreciate an off track being a Justify colt because he didn't look good at all in the Indiana Derby going 2 turns. And, they say, well, I mean, he's by Justify. He should get the distance. But the first time he tried the distance, he faltered down the stretch. He had no excuse for that. He got all the pace set up for him to track. He should have been there, and he wasn't. So comes back, good bounce back in the Ellis Park Derby against Jimmy's Dailies and Admiral Dennis. Admiral Dennis is a fraud, all the way fraud, even though he won that one race, like I guess was it Monmouth or someplace where he beat nobody. So Big Truzz has still got to prove it to me, and I think people might still bet on him. So I'm just going to have to see it to believe it here. I don't think he's as good as any of these other horses. Or not, I shouldn't say that. That's an asinine statement, but any of the top 3 choices at least. So Baeza, one of those top 3 choices. John Sheriff springs this one in. Hector Barrios getting the second mount after what? 4 straight 102, 104, 104, 107s, just all monster races, just banging heads with journalism and sovereignty and all 3 affairs. Just couldn't get past either one of those in the Derby and the Santa Anita Derby. Then faced sovereignty in the Belmont and journalism, couldn't beat either one of them there. Then faced just sovereignty, couldn't beat him. Good effort, but he was being toyed with down the stretch. But I think he's a really strong contender in this race, and the pressure's on. I think because now he's probably considered the 3rd best 3-year-old. But I think the next horse we talk about would beg to differ that. So the pressure's on for him to get it done this time, and we'll see what he's got. Now, number 9, Gosker, coming in for Brendan Walsh. I mean, what's he done wrong other than take 2 tries to get his maiden in December into February, and he did win as a 2-year-old, so knock him for that, I guess. But he wins the Lexington by 2 over Bracket Buster, who had a good finish recently. Then runs that huge race. I thought he should have won it. I've heard others mention that he should have won it. I think he got a little too close to a slow rail, and he just didn't have enough strength to get by. And journalism got bailed out by once again, or Rispoli got bailed out by journalism once again, bailed out once again in the late stages of the Haskell where he probably should have got there, but he just couldn't. He just could not hold off journalism. So I think his misfortune is that it's like journalism was to Gosker as sovereignty was to journalism. So if you understand what that means, where I think Gosker journalism was tracking Gosker the same way sovereignty tracked journalism, and as soon as Gosker fired, journalism followed behind him. Then that way he had to drop on him, and he was always going to catch him down the stretch. So he was just taking his cues from the earlier horse. Now, obviously, neither one of those two in this race, so it's on him. But the one thing I will do as we get down to the last contender here, Plex, is I'll show you here in just a second. Let's go ahead and talk Plex. 5 wins, a second, and a pair of thirds in his 9 races. He did prove he could get the 9 furlong distance with JD Ramos back on for him in the Ohio Derby at Thistledown. Comparable track to Parx. I think maybe a little more speed favoring, maybe a little more easy on the feet as far as holding the distance. So I don't think Plex hangs on. He could stay for a slice, but I don't think you can see he got beat 10 in the Jim Dandy in a very soft pace where he was out on the lead and could have had it any way he wanted to, and couldn't defeat any of the other horses. So I'm out on Plex, but now we get down to the tough way. First glance, I can't really say for a definitive winner, but it seems logical that it's Baez and Gosker, the top 2. Then you got others like Goal Oriented and Magnitude you could talk about, even Plex if you're on that bandwagon. But what I see from the last 2 races out of Gosker is these big 107, 111, 95 to start, consistent across the board speed figures with high 90s coming home. So he's very consistent across the board. He doesn't seem to get tired, especially going a mile and an eighth. And he actually went mile and 3/16 in the Preakness. So if the Preakness is a mile and an eighth, he wins that race, obviously. But I think that this mile and an eighth distance is his jam. And I think his ability to carry that speed. Now, Baeza is not too dissimilar, but you can see his early speed's a little slower. He's 84s, he's mid 80s, but then he does crank it up close in the mid 90s. And then he does have the late pace 109, 107. So he kind of flips the script in between the two. So that's why these two are so close coming down the stretch. It's really going to be who wants it more, in my opinion, and maybe who's tactically better at riding. And I'll give the edge to Louis Saez. Saez has ridden this one. This is going to be trip number 3 for Louis. I think he's going to have this one on lock. And I think Berrios, he doesn't get nearly as many mounts as the other riders. He's a quality jock in his own right. But obviously he wins at a 24% clip, 62% in the money. But I don't know about him in these big major graded stakes races. He don't always get the best of the mounts. And I think absolutely Pratt would be back on here unless the connections, John Sheriffs was really upset with it, the way he rode in but they rode him in the Belmont, so I shouldn't say that. So that is kind of your preview there. And I am going to lean Gosker for the win. And I use him as a key box horse because I think it's just almost a foregone conclusion that he's going to hit the board here. So I would use like the 1, the 3, the 6, and the 8. Obviously, those are like your magnitudes and goal oriented of the world. And the one horse who the name escapes me, like I'm going up to it right now. So Sandy is my value play. I need to put that on the ticker. So I think maybe So Sandy, if she can run back to that race where she was closing late next to Chancellor McPatrick, she can pick off those horses like Magnitude that maybe getting tired, maybe goal oriented. If he gets pressed too hard or takes the wrong tactical approach, things of that nature, could be a sleeper to hit the board. Maybe even something if you're going after supers to definitely use on that 4th line. So that's kind of how I see it right now. And that is going to be your preview for the Penn Derby. Make sure you stay tuned. Lots more to come. I got the Cotillion coming up. We got the Gallant Bob and the Parx Dirt Mile as a one video. So we got 2 more videos coming very, very soon. Then we'll start looking at pick 5s and the other stakes races, even a couple of Churchill Downs we might try to rock out. It's a very busy week. I don't want to spread myself too thin, so I may not get to the Churchill Downs stuff till later in the week, but that might be better. That way I can concentrate more on the handicapping part of it. So anyway, until next time, see you soon.